Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
Hey sports fans, are you ready for an exhilarating gaming experience? Introducing VIPclub.lv, your ultimate online sportsbook and casino. VIPclub.lv offers a vast selection of sports, from football and basketball to tennis and baseball. Bet on your favorite teams and enjoy the thrill of the game. But that's not all. Our state-of-the-art online casino offers a dazzling array of games, including slots, blackjack, roulette, and live dealer tables. Win big with their fantastic promotions, rewards, and exclusive offers. Join VIPclub.lv today and get a generous 200% match welcome bonus to start your winning streak. And make sure to use code ECSI at sign-up. Bet it, win it, and cash it at VIPclub.lv. Visit VIPclub.lv now and play responsibly. VIPclub.lv, your sportsbook and casino extravaganza. Must be 21 or older to play. Please gamble responsibly. Visit gambleware.org for help.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors. And guys, I'm here 24/7, 365, but everyone wants to jump in and ask me 35,000 questions when I go live. Where were you the last 8 hours? Jesus. Anyway, shout out to our new sponsor, VIPclub.lv. Please, at checkout, use ECSI. Tell them JD sent you, and we'll take care of you from there. Today, great to be here with you. Sorry for the vent. 4 inches of rain the last 45 hours. Yes, Noah's Ark. Yes, they did come into the animals. Trust me, I've seen it. And we're going to talk some NHL draft today. We're going to talk CFL. It's that time of the week. Mr. Andrew McInnis from Wager Talk, from McGinnis Picks, going to get us all ready to cash some tickets on the weekend, which I'm enjoying. And I have, it's kind of comical. I have to ask him this question on Sunday, like, what the hell happened? Because you know what? I thought we looked great at half at 18-17, but, you know, the Elks being the Elks and that halftime pep talk obviously did wonders. So without further ado, let's bring him in, the one and only Mr. Andrew McInnis.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon, sir. How are you?
Doing pretty good, Jeff. It's something to look forward to tonight with the NHL draft. I thought I was done with the NHL for a few months, and all of a sudden my excitement levels for hockey have been really up the past few days. So as a fan of the game and someone that has a few bets to sprinkle on, I'm really enjoying it. Look forward to breaking that down. And not a 4-game slate this week in the CFL. They decided, no, we'll bump that down to a 3-game slate. 3 games this week in the CFL. We'll try and catch some tickets.
CFL.
Anything but MLB and anything but talking baseball. I don't want to just have baseball to talk about.
Shout out to Connor. Good afternoon, Connor. Glad you're here with us. Shout out to everyone watching all around. It's good to be back here in the seat. I'm going back to Sunday. It was comical. On our action parlay, we get the first half of the game with the Braves run money line, and of course we don't get the run line. And we're sitting with the Elks and +7, and then we had them to sprinkle a little something on the money line, +215, 18-17 at half. Obviously, in our action parlay, I can't mix halves in with full games because then 98% of the people didn't have it when it wins, and when it loses, everyone has it. Elks had lost 18 in a row at home, make it 19. Block punt, and going into the end zone as he's going in, ball stripped, and comically they score on the last play of the game. What the hell's going on with this Elks team?
Well, Jeff, I think it's one thing to have a team that's not very good, but it's one team to have a team that nobody knows who belongs where, who's playing where, and who's the leader of the team, right? I think that's step one to building a franchise and having a rebuild, is accepting you're in a rebuild, figuring out who your quarterback is, sticking to that guy, and if that's not the guy, replacing him ASAP. And, some of the changes that you make, you have to stick with those. And, I think that there's so many internal problems with the Elks right now as an organization. Like, let's forget about the on field stuff. Just whether it's injuries, whether it's, are the right guys out there? Is the right, do they have the right coaching staff? Is the GM doing a good job? There seems to be a lot more problems going on with that organization than just some of the stuff you're seeing on the field. And it's kind of like, it's kind of like a home life translating into how somebody acts at school or at work, and I feel like what's going on in the front office and with the roster behind the scenes is kind of transitioning into on the field. It's pure chaos out there for this Edmonton Elks team. But the good news is they get a chance to play another bottom feeder this week that also struggles to win games at home. So one of those teams has to win a game, the Ottawa Red Blacks and the Edmonton Elks, but it's frustrating to watch. It's crazy. It's really interesting to look at it. And, Jeff, I talked about BC and Toronto, both relatively being, BC and Edmonton being a half-point difference as far as underdogs are concerned. BC steals it. I mean, they win outright. That was about the play I only really called the most last week. Other than that, it was kind of struggles. But you look at what Edmonton did, I'm beginning to think that their biggest problem is going to be their defense moving forward, not as much their offense. There's some signs of brightness, but their defense is getting walked all over. So even in a game that they score that many points, they lose. That is a problem.
Well, I was shocked at the fact that they had the lead early and the fact that they scored 17 points the first half. This is a team that we joke about, they can't get over 13. Here they are. It's 18-17 at the half. And I'm like, wow, okay. And then, of course, they give up a quick touchdown. It's 24-17, and then it's 31-17, 32-17, whatever it was. And then the rest was history. But I want to backtrack what you were talking about, because the shocker of all shockers, BC, you talked about them during the week. That was your best play, plus 6.5. Boat raced. I mean, we're talking box the wire, opened up a can of whoop ass. And I text you and DM'd you, and I'm like, could you imagine BC scoring 31 points and that game doesn't go over because the other team stuck on stupid with 10?
I did not believe it. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I thought defense would be the deciding factor in that game. And that was one of the biggest reasons why I liked BC. But I did not think their defense would be that effective. I'll tell you what, too. I'm a little bit disappointed by the play calling that Winnipeg makes. It seems to me, Jeff, no matter what situation they're in, no matter how many points they're up or down in a game, they always seem to go for the fanciest play. Did you notice that when you watch the Bombers at all? Like, they are allergic to simple plays. And if you're look, let's be honest here. If you're not if you're not into it and you're not gambling on the game and you're not, putting your time and effort into researching these, then you're like, yeah, go for these 40-yard plays. It'll be entertaining to watch. But I'm very curious why they refuse to go for these simpler plays. And also Brady Oliveira, that was a big loss not having him out there. And it looks like he's still injured this week, Jeff, starting running back for the Winnipeg Bombers. And looking back to Andrew Harris when he played for them, and now Brady Oliveira takes over as their number one running back. Is this team the same? And is that passing threat the same if they can't have a running threat as well? And I feel like we really found that answer. But boy, did BC ever separate themselves and make a statement in that game? They're the kings of the West right now as it stands.
Well, we'll break those down soon, and they are favored this week, which, again, surprisingly, but after their performances so far to start the year, I think they're well-deserved of it. NHL draft tonight. Anyone that's not tied into the NHL, absolute 1,000%. Like in the NBA with one Bayamba, it's Bedard, and more Bedard. Bruins make a trade, send Taylor Hall to Chicago, so there's going to be a nice little asset with them to hopefully, I don't know if he'll play on the same line, but it's at least someone with some experience that will be able to help there. With that said, there is picks after Bedard here. And you and I talked backstage that, it's not a slam dunk 2, 3, 4, and your Habs at number 5. So you are the expert here. Let's talk some NHL draft and what you're seeing.
I'm seeing lots of movement. It's exciting. I feel like even if somebody isn't interested in sports investing, they should be looking at the odds board, because it will help people at least a little bit have some clarification on what's going on with what I guess the books are hearing. The GMs are saying some tweets or some rumors, because I'll tell you what, there's been some drastic changes. So for anybody, like you said, it's not following this whatsoever, the clear cut number 1 was Bedard. That's been everybody's known that for like 4 years now for this draft. Adam Fantilli is projected to go number 2. Then it was Leo Carlsson. Then we have Will Smith and Ryan Leonard. Those are the favorites, all for the top 5. When you take a look at this draft, this is one of the deepest drafts that we've seen over the past several years. As a Montreal Canadiens fan, anybody that watches us here on the Midday Market Report, you should know I'm a Canadiens fan. But I will admit that either Shane Wright or Uri Slafkovsky are probably not even going top 5 or 6 in this draft. That's how deep this draft actually is. And those are the 2 players that went in the top couple last year. When I look at it, I want to mention that I do think that Adam Fantilli will go number 2. But I have heard some rumblings. The Ducks, they like Carlson. And I've heard some rumblings that the Blue Jackets at number 3, I've heard that they like Will Smith. So the thing is, Jeff, you see so many tweets from the blue check marks guys, and now thanks to Elon Musk, we all have blue check marks, and I've got them for longer video postings and things. But right away, I'll start things off with this. We got to keep it actionable info. One of the nicest bets I think you can make right now is taking a look at Leo Carlsson. You want to talk about positive EV? Leo Carlsson yesterday at a certain point was minus 200 to go 3rd overall, Jeff. I saw minus 170 at some spots. At DraftKings right now, you can get minus 130 for Leo Carlsson to get drafted number 3 overall. Now, do you want to buy into what everybody's reading? Do we think that that Will Smith does end up going to Columbus? We can take a look at that. But if I told you, hey, you know what? The Dodgers are minus 200. Oh, wait, no, tomorrow you can wake up and they're minus 130. Are you going to bet them? And that, to me, that's how I approach that wager. It's something that I have to lock in. And if Will Smith goes, that will mess up the entire draft anyway. But you're going to tell me a guy that was minus 200, I can get him minus 130 now. He's been the clear-cut number 3 overall guy for what feels like the past 6 months, and he's now minus 130. That's really tempting for me. They sound like they really do like Will Smith, but Columbus, I think, is a team that needs a player like that. And, oh, yeah, there's a guy that just got traded, Pierre-Luc Dubois. There's a bunch of like big guys on Columbus that got traded, and they need a power forward. That's what Leo Carlsson brings to the team. So I think that there's just all of those guys together, and you look at really what they've done. I think Leo Carlsson minus 130. Then you've got Will Smith minus 140 to go 4th overall. And then Ryan Leonard and Michkov are actually now tied at plus 200. Before I throw it back to you, I'll just say this. The guy that I think, it's not Carlson, it's not Will Smith. The guy that I think is going to really put a twist on this draft, I talked about it last week with you as well, is Matvei Michkov. This guy has a contract signed in the Continental Hockey League over there in the KHL in Russia. He can't come here, Jeff, until the 2026 season. He's got a handful of years where he will not be able to be in the NHL. He won't be coming over quite yet. And some people say, well, does that really matter if these teams aren't going to be good then? But some teams don't want to wait 3 or 4 years to start their success train. But it's really interesting. I will be expecting the chaos in this draft. I have a few different picks to look at, but I'll be honest. When I woke up today and I saw minus 130 on Leo, it's hard to pass that up after he was minus 200 just a couple days ago.
So going back to Michkov, is this someone, where is he projected to go?
So I've seen a lot of different things with Michkov. He was projected to go like around 7, 8, or 9 for the most part. I've heard maybe I say anywhere between 5 to 8, probably, Jeff, actually. Anywhere between 5 to 8. But he's traveled over. You know how the smallest little things, like you see like a tweet or a guy taking a picture anywhere. So he was in Montreal. He was here. He was there. He was visiting, and now he's in Nashville. He interviewed with the Canadians. He interviewed with a handful of the teams in the top 5. But the thing that everyone's talking about is who would he want to play with in the league from the same country as him that's pretty much been the Russian team of the entire league, the Washington Capitals.
Yeah.
And, they pick number 8. My pick, if I could bet the exact spot where he would go, if someone doesn't take him like in the top 4, I think the Philadelphia Flyers might just say, hey, Washington, sorry, man, you're number 8. I'm number 7. I'm taking Michkov. They need to get their offense going again, and he could be the next superstar of the Philadelphia Flyers for many years to come. The hard part to handicap the NHL draft, though, Jeff, is that you can't, once there's a trade that happens, if someone trades down or trades up, it throws off your entire handicap because each team needs a different player style. But I'll tell you what, after the 3rd overall pick, whoever passes on Michkov in 5 years, when we're still doing this show, I hope, we're going to say they made a mistake. That's going to be a superstar.
Well, you're on the clock. You're the Habs. Now, you've been waiting. Now, you had a nice run a couple of years ago. Okay. Struggled of late. Can you wait those 2 years, or do you need someone that's ready now to move in, step in, and get you guys up to speed?
The issue with him that everybody says is he a two-way player? Can he play defense in his own end? Is he full of himself? Is he cocky? There's been all these reports about that. And as a Habs fan, I follow all kinds of other Habs fans and media guys, and there's literally 2 sides of the coin right now. Is do you pick the best guy? Do you pick the goal scorer? Do you pick him regardless of attitude or how long? Or do you go with the guy that fits the roster that the Canadians need? And that's Ryan Leonard. Some reports, and he's the guy that's tied with Michkov to go number 5 overall. He is, I don't know if you've heard this before, Jeff, but most writers call him the 3rd Tkachuk brother. That's not actually blood related to those guys. He's a smack talker. He's a get in your face guy. He's a score the ugly goals around the net guy from the U.S. Development team. He's really everything the Canadians need right now, because they've got your Caulfields, they've got Nick Suzuki, they got Juraj Slafkovsky, they've got a deep core, but they've never really had a guy that's like tough, but can also score goals. And I feel like that would really help the identity of the Montreal Canadiens. Some people are going to be really upset, though, if they don't take Michkov. If I'm the Canadians right now, if he's available at 5, I'm going to put it out there. I think they should take him because it's a splash. And I think what the Canadians need right now is a splash. But like I said out the gate, this is a really deep draft. Anybody in the top 7, I think, is getting a really, really good player. I've heard so many rumblings that Kent Hughes might move up, might move down. He wanted to move up at one point to get Fantilli, and now he might move up because, like, you'd be surprised, Jeff, some of these trade offers I've seen. Like, so they're picking 5, right? I've heard that if they even swap picks with Washington at 8, they could get a player and a 2nd-round pick for literally moving up like 2 or 3 picks, which I'm shocked like how much value those, because let's say they like Ryan Leonard, so they get out of their 5th pick and somehow Leonard slips to 8th. And all of a sudden they still cash it. They still cash in with the guy they wanted initially, and they just earn more. But if they want Michkov, they have to hope nobody else dives in at 3rd or 4th overall and takes him. It's going to be really, really interesting. But I'll tell you what, the Canada is up there, number 1 and number 2 with Fantilli and Bedard. But other than that, it's the U.S. Men's development program here. All these young guys, Jeff, they're dominating this NHL draft. Will Smith seems to be a stud. And Ryan Leonard and all these guys, like, they're taking over. And a lot of it, I think, is due to the play style of hockey. I think junior hockey is getting softer, and I think the American players are starting to score those gritty goals, I'll be honest with you.
Well, our good friend and colleague Gabe says if Leonard slips, won't go past 7 to the Flyers. So I listened to him yesterday on the grid there. This is before your time. But there's a name that you that played for the Canadians. I was a big fan of, and as a Bruins fan, of course, or living in Boston, I couldn't be a Canadian fan, but I enjoyed watching the Canadians just from their style, and it was great hockey to watch. But there was a gentleman by the name of Shane Corson that played for the Canadians, and he kind of reminds me of what you were just describing. He was a trash talker who could score, who wasn't afraid, to. He was chippy. He got chippy, and if you weren't looking, he'd whack at your ankles a couple times. And so it's definitely going to be interesting. I will definitely be keeping my eyes on the prize there as we get closer tonight. Is 7:00 start or 8:00?
I think 7:00 Eastern time. Yeah.
Okay.
And you know what's nice, Jeff, is that this draft, it's not really just the top 5 guys that are going to be the most interesting. I look forward to watching the majority of the first round, and I'll tell you, 2 picks that I really like. Okay, wait, hold on. As we speak, Leo Carlson, I don't know who's watching our show right now. He just moved from 130 at DraftKings to 140. So I love the movement. I love the movement on draft day. It's really interesting. Like, I'm telling you, anybody that's not actually into sports betting, they should be still watching this stuff because I'm sure they'd probably find it interesting. But David Reinbacher, he is my favorite pick. Under 6.5 overall is what I like for him. I think that you see the number for him. Let me get the current number for you. I locked it in at -145. It's at -190 now. And I came here. I'm looking at all the different books. I don't want to give out the most chalky plays in the world to your audience, but it's something that I bet small. And I didn't think it would move that much, but here's the deal. If I could bet exactly where this guy's going to go, Jeff, I'll tell you he's going to the Arizona Coyotes. And this is me without any trades or anything going on. David Reinbacher, there's a guy, Jacob Chikrin. He wanted out. He got traded. He was a big asset for the Coyotes. They got a big haul from the Ottawa Senators. Chikrin's kind of a hometown guy. He has a family connection to Ottawa. And Reinbacher is the immediate replacement. They're literally replacing Chikrin through the draft in their first round. If anything else happens, they could take a stud forward if someone does slide. But I think Reinbacher is what they need. They already have some talent up front. Last year, if you recall, the Arizona Coyotes, they drafted Logan Cooley in the first round, or it might have been 2 years ago, actually. But regardless, this is a team that I think needs a defenseman. So that's one thing I'm looking at. And Gabe Perreault, I'm looking at him over 11.5. I even got him at over 12.5. There's whatever book you like. I like him over because I think the landing spot for him is going to be the Pittsburgh Penguins. He fits their system. He seems to be easy to play with, a balanced player, a two-way forward. And let's just say what it is. Everybody that you know and everybody that we know on radio, all they're giving out picks for is the top couple 4 or 5 picks. I like a lot of different ones that are under, over, certain round of different ones. Gavin Brindley, I like him under 29.5 overall. There's so many different picks to look at, but you don't need to just make money with these, really, really strong players that are in the top 5. I think Brindley goes to the Maple Leafs, 28th overall. That is unless they make a trade. So obviously, I know I don't need to keep saying that, Jeff, but obviously the things will change if there's going to be if there are trades and things. He's quick. He's got size. And I think that he could definitely kind of fit in with this team quicker than some of the other picks. And that's what you look for when you're looking for a team like the Maple Leafs, that they don't have a top 5 pick, a top 10 pick. You want to try and find that needle in a haystack, that sleeper player. And I think he's there. But if anybody can get down on exact landing spot for a player, I'd say my best bet for our draft segment would be Ryan Bucker to go to the Coyotes or under 6.5.
Well, I got a lot of notes here, so after the show, I got a lot of checking to do on DraftKings to see what's happening there. Going to be exciting tonight for sure. Go over to the CFL the 30th, which will be Friday night. My Edmonton Elks at the Ottawa Red Blacks. I had an opening number of Ottawa -4 with a 41.5. Now it's circa down to 2 with a 42.5. Two things stick out to me. One, Edmonton just keeps bleeding money, number one. But number two, Ottawa, a favorite, which, as you and I both know, is a scary thought as well. Total is leaked to 42.5. We know Edmonton plays better on the road. If it was me, I would probably take a swing initially on Edmonton first half. Hopefully they withstand that and they play better. We know the press hasn't been good all year for them. So whoever loses this game probably should make sure their passports are up to date and then just skip down, because it's not going to be a good rest of the season.
No, and I'd be surprised if there aren't some changes made to the coaching staff. I don't think it'll be the head coach, but some coordinators and things. I know it's hard to fire those guys for a few weeks into the year, but that could happen. Jeff, it's funny. I love when you say my Elks and we talk about them bleeding money. Money has come in big time on this Elks team, which is crazy. I mean, who just woke up and jumped out of bed and was like, I have to go to the right now and lock in bets on Edmonton. They were +3 in the hook 2 hours ago. Now they're +2.5. Who is eagerly betting this team? I'll tell you what, I like the over 42.5 here. It might surprise some people because of these two teams, but what's the old saying that we always say? We're betting numbers, not teams here. We're betting numbers. We're betting the lowest total we'll probably see all season long, one of the lowest. Jeff, you don't see totals in the 30s in the CFL. You don't see them at 40 usually. 41, maybe 42.5 is still very, very low. And if we'll remind people at home, this was actually a week 3 performance for the Edmonton Elks where they put up some points. Like, they actually managed to get up to a pretty high total. And if they weren't playing a team like Toronto, maybe they win that game. They put up 31 points on the board, making plays defensively. The pass game looked a little bit better besides some, obvious mistakes. But the thing is, they haven't found their QB1 yet. They don't even know who their QB1 is. I think Trey Ford should get in. I've heard rumblings that Chris Jones, the coach, doesn't like Canadian quarterbacks for some reason, so he won't give him a shot. Trey Ford. But the running game got better at least. And here's the thing. You take a look at Ottawa, they're fresh off a bye. And that's something I've noticed in the CFL, how effective the bye weeks can be, especially early in the season. We've already seen it early in the year as well. Look at what Montreal was able to do against Hamilton when they were off their bye. Bye weeks are really helpful. Ottawa could have really used a bye themselves. And well, it doesn't take a rocket science to take a look at how many teams are putting up points on Edmonton. Toronto puts up 43 on them. You take a look at week 1. Saskatchewan was able to get to them, and all we're asking is to get to 43. So, and if money's coming in on Edmonton, that probably means they think that they're going to score some points as well. So I think there's two offenses that are capable of getting up and over 42.5. I'm not asking them to get to 50 or 60 here, but trade points, avoid settling for field goals. And what I think is going to happen is that the offenses are going to be so sloppy, though. I think that the CFL, someone asked me today, what are some big differences? And I always say, key numbers and the line movement and stuff. But one of the new things I've been saying to people, Jeff, is the fact that special teams, and I'm sure you've noticed it, sometimes it's a pure chess match. I think punting is way more important in the CFL. There's no fair catches, right? You have to run the ball. There's a 5-yard, the fair catch. There's no fair catch. There's a 5-yard grace area, and then the player has to go. So if you have a really good returner, that makes a huge difference. And I think that both these teams actually have that. So I think that I can't put my money on this Elks team. I really can't, but I'm going to have to go with the over here. And I got to remind you, you asked me about some of the websites I can get here in Canada about the Elks team total last week. Might be a good opportunity to look at them as well with their team total, because even if they don't win the game and don't cover with that plus 2.5, I mean, it's kind of tempting to take a look at and see what they can do as far as putting points up on the board. It's just a matter of if we trust Ottawa. I think that we're going to be talking here in week 7 or week 8, and we're not going to be asking ourselves what's going on with Edmonton's offense. It's going to be what's going on with their defense. I think that if Edmonton scores 25 points in a game, they should be able to win that. But they're going to look at what happened last week. I know it's Toronto, but Toronto put up 40 piece on them, and Edmonton put up 30. But let me ask you, because you've been getting into it. The Elks are the team you followed. You had the +7 in the action parlay. With all the chaos and crap that happened, can they build on putting up 30 points? Do you think that that's at least a step in the right direction?
My 2 cents for them to be competitive with an opportunity to win this game is to get into a slugfest, not a shootout. This got to go back to the stuck on stupid at 13. First 1 to 20 wins. That I assume at your sites that you can look at team totals. Just being a numbers guy, my assumption would say that with a 41, that Edmonton's team totals probably 20 and a half. And Ottawa's right now is probably 21 and a half. That's probably the way they're going to tease you with it.
So 19.5 for Edmonton, 22.5 for Ottawa.
Okay. So does this Edmonton get stuck on that 13 number? That's the number with Edmonton. They can get to 13 with the best of them, but then what can they do after? That's why I was shocked, when next thing you know, they were up 14-10 and then down 18 to 14. Then it was 18-17 at the half. And then, the third quarter just fizzled. So I think for me, if you played Edmonton to win and cover, I think it's got to stay under the number.
Okay.
But 2 teams, they're 2 Jekyll and Hyde teams. I mean, would you be shocked if Ottawa won 30-10? No.
No. Exactly. Well, that's my point. And I don't get me wrong. I don't mind the disagreement. I don't mind it's good for us. It's good for content and stuff. Like I like that you're getting into CFL. Like the way I look at it is this, like this is, as much as this is a big test for you and I watching Edmonton, I don't think we've talked about Ottawa that much this year. No. They haven't really been something we've talked about on the show. They had the bye week last week. So they've played Montreal and Calgary so far. I think I've got respect for Calgary's defense, but I also think I was dead wrong about Saskatchewan and Trevor Harris, and I have to improve on that. Last week, a Saskatchewan team did really well against Calgary, but we've seen them play Calgary and we've seen them play Montreal. Montreal's defense made a lot of changes in the offseason. They get to the quarterback. They make life difficult. Edmonton's not getting to anybody. Edmonton's not making anybody's life difficult. So I get what you're saying, but this to me is the test of if Ottawa can't put up points on Edmonton, who can they put up points on? That's my, that's, and I get it. Like sometimes the lowest total is low for a reason. I get that 100%, but it's like, you know what? Edmonton's offense didn't look that bad. It was just their defense. If Ottawa's off a bye, they're playing the worst team in the league that gives up 25 points a game. If they can't give me 20-some points in this game, screw them. I'm done with the Red Blacks. You know, it's a shame someone has to win a game, win in this game. Neither of them deserve to win.
Saturday, July 1st, 7 p.m., Winnipeg at Montreal. I can hear Ian Cameron now. A number of opened at 5 with a 49, now 6 with a 48 and a hook. Would expect a bounce back here from Winnipeg. Just talking out loud here. I just from the eye test, I think it's going to be the Bombers early and often. That's just what my eyes are telling me.
The over is definitely a good play, I'd say. You know, I said it last week on the show, and I'll say it again. The Bombers are still a good team. They're still going to make a run this year. They're still going to be at the top of the West Division, but they might not cover as many point spreads this year. They might not be as locked down defensively as they were. I remember going on a show last year, and it was like week 8. And I said to people, you know, in the first half combined in their past 4 or 5 games, this is a Winnipeg team that's given up, you know, I think it was something crazy like 16 points in 4 or 5 games. It's unbelievable. That team is gone. That is not this team anymore. I think we will see fireworks. I think both teams have proven that they like to go downfield. They've got playmakers. But my favorite thing about Montreal, and you hear me say this all the time when you and I talk hockey together, is that it's not just one guy. It's multiple guys that are making the plays. That's what I like about Montreal. They get to the quarterback. They make defensive plays. They're probably good for an INT. I like that about them. I like the over in this game, but when it reached 6, Jeff, I had to think that was the play. Now I haven't finalized any plays as official plays yet, but I'm leaning on the side of the Alouettes. Just because I'm not asking them to win the game. And I get it. Like, it's one of those things where it's the Blue Bombers. It's like asking Vasilevsky and the NHL, you know, to lose back-to-back playoff games. Remember how that streak went? I mean, you didn't want to do it. You didn't want to do it, but hey, it didn't go very well this year. But the Blue Bombers, look, I'm not saying they're going to lose the game. I think Montreal can keep it close. And we keep talking about teams that struggle at home, teams struggle away. Montreal is historically one of the best home teams in the CFL. They play very well at home. They've got a great fan base. I think their coaching staff has figured things out pretty well. And remember at the start of the year when I talked about like the coaches and QBs, the carousel, how much that changed. So I really liked the fact that the offensive coordinator from Saskatchewan was the new coach for Montreal. And obviously the quarterback for Saskatchewan was the new QB for Montreal. The chemistry seems to be off the charts right away. They seem to be able to make plays comfortably, put points on the board. They put up 38 against Montreal, albeit 2 of those, I believe, 2 of those touchdowns were defensive touchdowns, but they all count. And then looking in week 1, kind of, you know, still put up a decent effort there against Ottawa. Winnipeg in week 1, they gave up 31 points to a god-awful Hamilton team. Week 2, 27 points against Saskatchewan. And then you go to week 3 and 30-6 result against the league's best team, BC. Nothing that Winnipeg has showed me tells me they're going to shut down anybody besides Edmonton and Ottawa. Hamilton's one of the worst teams in the league, and they hung 30 on them. If you know, let me check what the team total is here for the Alouettes, because like theirs is 20.5 shaded to the under. I think I'm tempted more even just to look at the team total over than I would be to even bet the side. What do you think?
I agree.
Do you think that if someone likes the Bombers, though, they should play it early? Is that kind of what you're saying? Like, because of the bounce back effect and just how good this team and well coached they are?
Well, let me ask you the question. If you had the Bombers last week, are you putting more emphasis on, at this point now, how good their opponent is, or was it just an aberration?
If I had the Bombers, I'd be giving more respect to the opponent, I think. But if I had the Bombers last week, put it this way, if I had the Bombers, which I was on the other side, and that was my only real best bet of the week, was I would be all over the over. Okay. If I was somebody that bet the Bombers last week and I watched that one and I was ripping my hair out, I'd say this defense stinks, but the offense is going to bounce back. Nothing that we've seen from Winnipeg has shown us the defense is going to get any better.
I agree. I would just, would they get shut out the second half? They definitely got shut out. I mean, they put up 10 and that was it. And they're just waiting because I had some action on the over with some stuff tied up, and I'm doing well on all the others. I'm like, well, geez, they got 10. And I'm just like, keep scoring. The other team, BC, keep scoring. Come on, keep going. And then we're just waiting for Winnipeg to score. It didn't happen. I'm still waiting.
I know. and this is a team that throws the ball deep every single play. They couldn't make one play. I couldn't believe it. But keep an eye out there on the reports for the health of the running back situation there for Winnipeg. But give me the points, and I'm excited because I hate to use this word, the Publix and Sharps, and Dave Sherapan always says the parallelograms and all that stuff,
and the
squares, the rhombuses and the parallel. But I think that it's been a lot of like public dogs that have had success so far this year. But I think that Winnipeg might be a public favorite this week. So we'll see what happens. But hopefully Hamilton isn't, or hopefully Montreal doesn't turn to be a public dog. But I think that they're going to hang around and they should be able to keep things close.
Sunday, BC at Toronto. We talk about overreactions. We talk about, people remember what they saw last. Me personally, surprised with the opening number. I am. I mean, the opening number was BC -2, 46.5 at Toronto. As high as 2.5 right now at Circa with a 47.5. First question, surprised BC is favored or opened as a favorite?
I thought it would be picked like everywhere. That's what I thought. Like I was surprised that I saw some -1 and 1.5. And here's the deal, Jeff, is that honestly, I really wanted to dive more into my research this week and take more time throughout the week and not to overthink, not to read too many blogs about injuries and things, but kind of let the dust settle. And that's not to say that's going to be my plan throughout the rest of the season. I'm good to release a play on Monday or Tuesday most weeks, but letting things settle, I liked BC when they were -120 on the money line. Do I like them now? 160, 165 on the money line? Not really as much anymore. But when it comes down to it in every single sport, NFL, NHL, NBA, CFL here, defense wins games. When you say two top dogs from each division go head to head, usually you want your money put down on the best defensive team. Toronto, the thing about them, they just gave up 30 points to the Elks, like we just mentioned, right? They actually haven't proven to be a really good defensive team. They're just an offensive powerhouse. Chad Kelly can run, escape the pocket, all kinds of offensive weapons. And then so you pretty much have 3 running backs, AJ Ouellette, Andrew Harris, and then, of course, their QB and several playmakers downfield. But their defense isn't anything scary. So I think that's where BC kind of has them. Part of me likes the first half under. I haven't made an official play on this game yet. I'm kind of waiting for some buyback. That's what I'd love to see, and then jump in on BC. But I do kind of feel a little bit like I have some FOMO from that -1.5 when it was there, Jeff. Now seeing the -2.5 sticking, I'm unsure how I'll really go about it. But I don't like the 165 I'm seeing current number here. Lean towards the BC side. Lean towards the under, actually. But I want to play it early if I'm playing it before the game gets away. When the game gets away, I think it could open up. But early on, I feel like we could see the run game be very important.
I'm playing back Chad Kelly's 3 first-half touchdowns opening day, their home opener, excuse me, and then they just played grab ass the second half, and then looking what he did last week. And this, again, I'm not an expert, at this. I am starting to add a lot more. I'm watching a lot more and following the numbers. But again, the BC defense last week, I didn't see that coming. But my point is, if you're going to give me Chad Kelly at home and points, for me, that should be a recipe for success.
Yes. Well, that's why I and that's why what did I say earlier about betting numbers, not teams with that over? I mean, that's kind of how I feel about this one, is that whatever team I'm getting points with is kind of where I'd want to go. You know, I can't bet the -2.5. If it gets any bigger, like to 3, I'm definitely taking Toronto. But the thing is, it worries me how many points Toronto's given up. I mean, they've played 2 out of 3 weeks so far, one against Hamilton and one against Edmonton. Gave up points against Edmonton, 30 of them, and they gave up points against Hamilton as well. So is it going to be a walk in the park? They just played 2 of the worst defenses in the league. Now they're playing the league's best defense. That is my question. But you're right. It almost seems too easy. Oh, yeah, the number opens a pick, -1, 1.5, 2. Everyone loves BC. Yeah, BC's going to blow them out. I'm curious to see if next Wednesday you and I are talking about the absolute dominant victory BC had. They're the new top dogs. They can't be stopped. Or if they got served a slice of humble pie and Toronto said, hold on, watch out. But I'm just going off the eye test right now from what I've seen. I just got to go with the better defense. But I agree with you. That's why I'm not running to the window whatsoever to lay points in a game like this when you've got a team at home so deep, so talented, and Chad Kelly that's willing to make plays. I don't say this very often. I say this on the show more often with hockey. This could be a really good live betting game, I think. And I've been trying to simmer down on the live betting because I feel like it really you can really, you know, come into the game with a thought and then like see what happens in the first half and you live bet it and then all of a sudden the game goes how you thought pregame and you're all messed up. But I think this is one where you could see how it plays out, see how these teams are playing and react that way.
You know what I'm also going to add here is, and again, this is just in a handful of weeks, but what I have noticed outside looking in is whichever way the numbers are moving, it's almost like a false move. They're not coming in.
Yes.
They're not
mind games.
They you know, when people ask me, Jeff, what do you use for spreadsheets? Who do you follow? And I'll say very openly, you know, I use Spank Odds. I use Wager Talk. You know, it depends on what sport on the other sites that I use because there's so many of them out there. And if you're not comfortable and, you know, the steam, the big money moves and stuff, well, I got to follow where the money's going. Well, a lot of times when they all move in the same direction, all like this, it's just a copy and paste. And my point is what I've noticed, we've had the first couple weeks, teams open up 2.5 point favorites, then go to 2.5 point dogs, and they weren't coming in. And just watching these move. So with that thought process, Ottawa going from 4 to 2. Keep an eye on Ottawa. Here, Winnipeg, Montreal. Winnipeg's gone from 5 to 6. Keep an eye on Montreal. And then, of course, here, BC went from 2 to 2.5. Keep an eye on Toronto. Mm-hmm. Just from the eye test, that's all.
It is a really interesting point because usually the money was right. But I find that one thing with the CFL is that you see these exaggerated moves. And how could you ever... I mean, the one I keep sticking to, and I know it's a lot of it because I cashed a ticket with it. But in week 1, when we saw a total go from 41 or 47.5 to 51, and the total doesn't even go over 47. That's definition of CFL line movement right there. So you're right. And I think that in simple terms, what I think that really teaches us too is to trust your gut and not overthink the movement as well, is to trust what you like and play that. But I'm looking forward to this week because this will tell us a lot. We've got, it's kind of funny, Jeff. It goes up in tiers. We've got, you know, the toilet bowl. We've got the middle of the pack game, and then we got a Monday game, and we've got Canada Day coming up. Canada Day is this weekend, of course. I know the 4th of July is the American celebration. Canada Day is on July 1st. So that is the reason, of course, that there is a game on Monday.
I just forgot that Tuesday's July 4th. Oh my God. I don't know where the time's gone. I don't. I don't. Um, the scroll has been going the whole time, Andrew. Everyone knows they can go follow you at McGinnis Picks. They can get all your work, obviously, at Wager Talk. They can go over to Mayflower Sports, go over to YouTube to Mayflower Sports. Obviously, they can follow you on Twitter at Sports Mayflower. Tell everyone what you have on deck for everyone at Wager Talk this weekend.
I'm super excited about the CFL card, but MLB, and I'm actually releasing some NFL season-long props. Believe it or not, I'm getting into that a little bit, and I'll put it this way: they're all unders. All of them are unders. I don't release anything as far as overs this early. Only bad things can happen. Nothing good can happen in training camps and things like that. But I do have an MLB promo that I just got before this show. That's MLB 50. MLB 50 takes $50 off a 30-day pass for the MLB. Jeff, I'm going to take your route, man. I'm going a lot to the team totals in the second half of the year. I got burnt too many times. I thought I had some really good spots with first fives or full games, but I got to go with those team totals. Full transparency, I'm pretty much dead even at the halfway point in the MLB season as far as my track record's concerned. Is it good? No. Is it bad? Could be a lot better, but I pretty much get a fresh start, so I'm really excited about that. And UFC, we've got a bunch of cards coming. I think the one not this weekend, but next weekend is going to be one of the best cards of the year. So I'm going to have lots of action on that one, and I'll have those picks out early. So I appreciated being here, and everyone out there, enjoy the chaos of the NHL draft.
The one and only Mr. Andrew McInnis. Go follow him on Twitter at McGinnis Picks. Find all his great work at Wager Talk. From myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest. And that 30-second rant, I thank everyone that reached out to me, all at 3:15. I will promise to get back to you guys as well. NHL draft, CFL. In about a half hour, myself and Riley Magnuson will be back with the closing bell. At 6 o'clock, Brady Cannon will be here talking PGA and Rocket Mortgage tournament. And then at 7 o'clock, Scott Webb will be here talking some MLB. So busy day in the studios of Noah's Ark and East Coast Sports Investors. So everyone, have a blessed afternoon. Thank you all for tuning in. Connor, have a good afternoon. We'll see everyone real soon.